Let's take a look at Scott's top 5 shortstop prospects up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Tuesday, December 17th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and we are taking a look at Scott's top 5 shortstop prospects entering 2025, and we will begin with number 5, and that is Leo Vries of the San Diego Padres. Only 18 years old, was just signed last offseason, got thrown right into A-ball where he played 75 games, and he did some interesting things. Scott, talk to me about Leo Vries.
So before we get into that, I just want to say, listener out there, you may quibble with the order. I may quibble with the order. I feel like any of these 5 you could call number 1. There isn't a clear number 1 at shortstop. And if you wanted to sell out for upside, DeVries as your number 1 would make a lot of sense if you were less interested in how projectable the path is. But DeVries got the usual the Padres' tendency to promote guys with reckless abandon. They did that with DeVries too. He was the top international signing just this year, and they put him. Usually, it takes those guys forever to get in full season ball, and they put him straight at low A. He struggled at first, but figured it out over his final 34 games there. Slash 285, 407, 599, 10 home runs and 7 steals in those 34 games, and that he was able to do that for being so young in A ball. Showed good plate skills. Very impressive, Leo Vries.
All right, number 4, we have Colt Emerson of the Mariners. He's 19 years old, a first-round pick in 2023. Strong feel at the plate. He gets on base. He hasn't shown much power yet, but Scott, the evaluators think that it will eventually come for Colt Emerson.
Yep, that's why he's ranked so highly here. It seems to me like he excels in the areas that are hardest to teach, which are like pitch selection and contact quality. But he's still trailing in the areas that are easier to teach, optimizing the launch angle, the spray angle, pulling the ball in the airborne. If he starts doing that, Colt Emerson will get to that power more. This is an often used comp with prospects, but I could see a Corey Seager-like outcome for Colt Emerson.
Number 3, we have J.J. Wetherholt of the Cardinals. He's 22 years old. He was a first-round pick in this year's draft, went 7th overall. He's got 5-tool potential. He's expected to hit for good batting average. And considering he's a college bat, Scott, we could see J.J. Wetherholt sooner rather than later.
Yes, we could. I don't know that it'll be at shortstop. It might be at second base instead. But the bottom line is he could be a big offensive contributor, 5 category potential, good on base skills as well. It's still early. He's had 105 at bats in the minors, and some of this is theoretical. He's a good athlete. The power and speed are legitimate, but he's a little opposite field minded with his swing. So whether he learns to maximize that power, I still think is in question. But yeah, a lot of upside for J.J. Wetherholt.
Number 2, you have Marcelo Meyer of the Red Sox, and he's one of their big 4 prospects they have in the organization. 21 years old, first-round pick back in 2021. He's had some ups and downs in his minor league career, but he hit very well this year at AA, and there is a chance that he is ready to contribute as soon as 2025.
Yeah, there is a chance that he might already be in the majors if his last couple years weren't so plagued by injury, shoulder impingement in 2023, a lumbar strain in 2024. Those are fairly significant injuries. And so if you look at the numbers and are underwhelmed by what Marcelo Meyer has done, well, take that into account, that he was somewhat compromised during that stretch. I don't think he has quite as much upside as the 3 we've already covered, 3, 4, and 5 on my list. 2 might have less upside, which is kind of gets back to what I was saying at the start. But Marcelo Meyer, very projectable, very good hit tool, and could perform something like a Bo Bichette or Xander Bogaerts at the major league level.
And your number 1 shortstop prospect is Jordan Lawler from the Diamondbacks. He's 22 years old, a first-round pick back in 2021. This past season was just snake-bitten by injury, pun intended. But there's lots of power and speed. Maybe he doesn't hit for the best batting average, Scott, but Jordan Lawler's game could play very well for fantasy baseball.
It could. It could. The speed element, I think, is the real clincher here. It's sort of like Marcelo Meyer, where, okay, does Jordan Lawler have enough upside to be the number one shortstop prospect? Yeah, I don't know, but he's right at the precipice of the majors, and the profile suggests he could be at least a fifth round type in fantasy moving forward. With that speed, with those on base skills, the power is a little more questionable. Not a ton of raw power for Jordan Lawler, but he's good at maximizing it, elevating it to his pull side. So to me, this makes for a Marcus Semien type comp. Of course, it also sounds a lot like Anthony Volpe, and if it goes that way, we're going to be disappointed in Jordan Lawler. But having said that, as disappointing as Anthony Volpe has been, he's still getting drafted in fantasy. So if that's the downside case for Lawler, still looks like a pretty good prospect.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again on Thursday. Bye-bye.